Well, good evening, Tallahassee, and welcome to your Friday edition of FSU Weather. I'm student meteorologist Michael Onen.
And I'm student meteorologist Chris Knoll.
Yeah, and Chris, I feel like we're just knocking the old record again. It was another record day out there, 97 degrees.
Yeah, we reached 97. It was another very hot day. Tomorrow's looking to be the last day of the 90s for at least a bit.
Yeah, it's been really hot out there, not only here, but basically the rest of the southeast. And luckily, there's going to be some changes as we get into the weekend with the series of cold fronts, really.
Yeah, hopefully these fronts give us some much-needed rain. Hopefully, might knock us out of the drought that we're currently experiencing.
Yeah, it's going to be at least we'll get those temperatures knocking down with the extra cloud cover at least. But it's looking like it's an interesting what's going to happen this weekend. We're going to have that backdoor cold front, which will bring in some cooler air to the north, really knock those temperatures down a little bit back to around 90 degrees.
Yeah. There's also a stationary front right around there that could possibly also be moving in Monday after the backdoor cold front comes in.
Yeah, that second system out towards the plains might actually give us some needed rainfall. We also had that new drought monitor come out yesterday. Of course, a lot of the southeast, really bad drought conditions given how hot and dry it's been.
Yeah. Currently, we're in a severe drought. You'll see it later in the show, but for now, we're going to send things off to Zach with the overview.
Thanks, guys. Let's take a look outside at our Doak Campbell Stadium cam. We're seeing some clouds, something we haven't really seen much of lately. So cloudy conditions, and we're sitting at 93 degrees, so still fairly warm conditions as the sun's getting ready to set in a couple of hours out there. And right now here in Tallahassee, not much going on in the Tallahassee region. A little bit to our west, we're seeing shower activity, but over the next few days and into the weekend, we could see some of those showers starting to push into the region, and that's all to do with this front system that we have going through. So we have a stationary front that's sitting right here, and that's not going to move over the next few days, but this low pressure is going to start to drift down, and then it's going to bring in a backdoor cold front, and that's going to be bringing in rain for most of our region. So for our next 3 days, we're going to start to see those temperatures drop a little bit. This is going to be our last day in the 90s for a little while, and we're going to start to see rain chances pick up as we go into the weekend. 30% chance of rain on Sunday, 40% chance on Monday with highs of 88 and 87. Now let's look at the southeast with Maddie.
Thank you, Zach. So we're going to be breaking it into the southeast right now, starting off with our temperatures. Right now, Tallahassee is sitting at 93, much of the southeast in the mid to low 90s. Up in Little Rock, we're seeing those 77 degrees, definitely not the norm for this time, and we're looking at the mid 90s for the rest of the southeast. Getting into our dew point temperature, Tallahassee 72, definitely muggy out there as we get more north into the region. Nashville sitting at 49, Atlanta at 59, Charlotte up at 60. Now keep in mind, when these dew point temperatures get closer to the actual temperatures, that's when we start seeing those heat indices rise, just as we're seeing here, sitting at 101 in Tallahassee, 100 in Montgomery, and the mid 90s for the rest of Florida. Getting into our wind speed directions, Tallahassee, we have a nice southerly breeze coming in at 9 miles per hour, but most of the southeast are seeing some winds coming down from the north at around 9 to 10 miles per hour, and this could be due to the stationary front that is moving across the region. Looking at our storm outlook, a lot of thunderstorms and showers made their way across the Texas and Louisiana region yesterday, still making their way across as that stationary front is settled over much of the southeast. This is what we're seeing today, and we do see parts of South and North Carolina in the storm outlook as well. Just as we mentioned earlier, the stationary front and the backdoor cold front that Zach alluded to earlier, we're seeing that low pressure system making its way down into the southeast and the Florida region, hopefully offering us some relief from this heat, some showers, and some much needed cloud coverage. Looking at the drought monitor though, moving on to the moisture forecast, drought wasn't working too well. We do see some low moisture and very dry conditions for much of Tallahassee and much of Florida. But as you see, as it starts turning a little green and a little orange, that's when that low pressure system's coming in, bringing in that moisture and bringing in the higher chance of precipitation into this weekend. For our next 24 hours though, we do see some scattered clouds moving over the western portion of the Panhandle and much of the northern southeast, and we do see some scattered showers coming into play tomorrow evening as well. Looking at tonight's forecast, though, we're getting down to 69, so it should be very nice out there for you guys in Tallahassee. Much of the Florida region, we're seeing mid to upper 70s. And then as we get more north, we're seeing 61 for Little Rock and getting down to the 50s in Nashville, Tennessee. And we're seeing partly cloudy conditions for the majority of the region. Tomorrow's forecast, though, we're seeing 93 for much of the Florida Panhandle and for the state of Florida. Nothing different than what we have been seeing, as we're going to see some clouds and some storms coming in from Montgomery and New Orleans as those fronts start making their way through. I think I'm going to pass it off now to Michael for our first look at our local.
Yeah, thanks, Maddie. And it was, again, really hot out there. You can see the signs of that backdoor cold front in the southeast. But again, another record. We basically beat the daily record of 94, and we also tied the monthly record for October, which we basically said yesterday. Day 4 out of 4 of records. And interesting stat, all 4 days have been above 95. Until this year, only 3 days since 1892 have been above 95 degrees. So pretty impressive how we've already surpassed that just for 2019 alone. Now the current conditions, 93 degrees, a little bit cooler as the sun is now setting. Not really bad as compared to earlier in the afternoon. And luckily the really intense heat has really come to an end, and we're looking to cool down as we head towards the weekend and into early next week, luckily. You can see 93 here in Tallahassee. The more inland you go into Georgia, it is in the upper 90s, 97 in Donaldsonville, 93 in Thomasville, and a little bit cooler down towards the coast because that sea breeze starting to penetrate inland with 85 in Caribou and 89 in St. Marks. You can also see the sea breeze with these dew points, a very sharp change in those dew points from St. Marks up to Thomasville, with 75 in St. Marks, 64 in Thomasville. Tallahassee's in the middle line and just south of that sea breeze now with 72 down there, and then 63 up towards Donaldsonville. So the heat indices are much higher compared to your air temperature down towards the coast because of those higher dew points. Meanwhile, in the interior locations, pretty close to your air temperature because the moisture content is a little bit lower compared to down near the coastline. The winds also show you we have that southerly flow coming out the Gulf a little bit, but meanwhile in the inland locations up towards the South Georgia counties, a little bit of a easterly wind due to high pressure still holding on, and we also have that stalled out boundary. It's trying to sag south into central and southern Alabama, but most of the rainfall is situated into Alabama currently. You can see that on satellite and radar. The stall out boundaries right up towards Montgomery about, and a lot of the shower and thunderstorm activity flared up with the daytime heating up there. Tallahassee and the Big Bend region in South Georgia still really under that ridge, even though it's weakening now. Still, that ridge is really keeping us high and dry for the rest of the evening hours and going into the overnight. Now, with the drought monitor, the new update came in yesterday, and with the lack of rainfall for the entire month of September and basically the little rainfall we did get on Tuesday, that doesn't count in this drought monitor since the update came on Tuesday. You can see severe drought in Tallahassee. We do have some extreme drought just north of Defuniak Springs. Next 24 hours shows you the shower activity really dying off, and then we might get something in the afternoon, possibly due to a backdoor cold front moving through. The temperatures cool down because of that, and then we have another cold front moving through early next week, and what that really does is really bring us back towards our average levels for this time of year. But now let's send it back to the desk with Tyler and Zach, and they're going to talk about some fantasy football and weather.
Thank you, Michael. Yeah, it sounds a little bit different here on our show tonight. We're going to be talking about fantasy football. Promise that it links up to weather, though. So we have a fantasy football league going on with a lot of people from FSU weather right now. Dylan Leith currently leading things. Unfortunately, not going so well for you right now.
Yeah, and me and Michael, we're sort of holding up the rear, 1-3 each. We both just coming off our first win, so rough start to the fantasy football season. But why are we talking about fantasy football on a weather show, Tyler?
Okay, so the reason we're talking about it is because weather can have a huge impact on the performance of fantasy football players. So just one example is Frank Gore, a running back in the NFL, actually had a career high in carries, 37 carries in one game because there's a snowstorm in Buffalo. When you have snowstorms and other kinds of severe weather, it's a lot harder for the players to catch and hold on to the ball.
So if you're looking at filling that flex spot on your roster where you get that choice between putting in your running back or receiver, if you're looking at weather, potentially precipitation such as snow or rain, You want to look at putting that running back in that flex spot so they can hold on to the ball. The receivers aren't going to be catching well. The quarterback's not going to be performing well to get those passes to the receivers. So it's definitely something to look forward when choosing your flex player.
Exactly, and especially whenever it comes to events where there's high wind speeds, that can even impact players like your kickers. We saw last night there's actually a kicker for the Rams that missed a kick because a wind gust came through and pushed it wide, or not wide right, but pushed it a little bit right. And same with quarterbacks, harder to push the football down the field whenever you have high wind speeds. So really, if you can avoid playing any players on a team that's playing in somewhat severe weather, that's the route to go. But if you have to play someone, go with the running back.
That's definitely a good tip to sort of look forward to. And now let's send things off to the wall.
All right, thank you, Tyler and Zach, with that interesting segment. Currently with our national high and low temperatures right now, yesterday's high was actually 103 in Gunter, while our low was set this morning 18 degrees in Granby, Colorado. Getting a look at our temperature, as you can see, the southeast was another round of the 90s, very warm throughout much of the southeast, extending all the way over to San Antonio, Texas. You're feeling quite a bit colder in the northeast, 58 degrees in Boston, 53 in Detroit, moving over to the Midwest where they're getting quite a bit of snow. There's 58 degrees in Billings. Getting a look at our dew points, you can see a great discrepancy right here with how dry it is out west, whereas you start moving closer to the southeast, we have very high dew points, which will raise heat indexes and cause the southeast to feel a lot hotter than it actually is temperature-wise. Getting a look at our wind speed and direction, they're looking like they're all over the place. As you can see, as we move in over here, there's quite a bit of systems on this map. You got this high pressure system over by the Great Lakes. You got this cold front and these two low pressure systems, as well as a high a bit south of that, as well as the stationary front that's sitting over the southeast, giving them some much needed rainfall. Getting a look at some satellite and radars, you can see a little bit of snow actually in southern Idaho, feeling pretty cool over there, pun intended. If you have any pictures of your dog playing in the fluffy snow, feel free to send them to us. Getting a look over, moving over to Kansas, you can see this storm system go over here that will actually start flaring up into a much larger system as it moves eastward. Going into the southeast, you can see these scattered showers that are developing because of the stationary front, which will bring rain that the southeast very much needs, as it is sitting in many places in the southeast suffering a severe drought right now. As you see over the next 24 hours, you can see the storm system I talked about in Kansas starts flowing out as it meets the same storm system that was sitting over Idaho, bringing that storm, causing a lot of severe weather in Minneapolis. Over to tonight's forecast. Southeast going to sit fairly cool. You're going to be in the 70s for a lot. 77 New Orleans, 71 San Antonio. Billings, you're actually going to have some snow showers, mixed precipitation, sitting 41 degrees. Albuquerque is 55. You're going to have some thunderstorms. Northeast by Boston, 42 degrees. My bad, flubbing a bit with the numbers. As we're moving into tomorrow's forecast. Southeast, another warm round of the 90s. Hopefully, this will be the last round of the 90s in Southeast experience. Bismarck, you're going to have some snow showers, 52 degrees. Going to be 50s up north. Around 70s for much of the rest of the country. As right now, I'm going to be sending things off to Maddie with our second local look.
Thank you, Chris. Looks like we have a pretty busy national outlook that we've been just seeing, but we're going to bring things back in locally to Tallahassee. This is what we've been seeing the past 12 hours. We started off this morning at 74 at 9 a.m., just after those 8 a.m. classes, but in typical Florida fashion, we warmed up all the way to 96, another record-breaking day, and then we see those heat indices at the top getting up to 102 degrees. For our rainfall almanac, nothing too different than what we saw in the month of September. Today, no rainfall, but this month we have seen just a little bit, not much. But we're hoping that's going to change with that front that's moving in a little bit below normal and the yearly average that we've seen. Current conditions right now, though, we do see some nice fluffy clouds in the background right over Doak Campbell Stadium, offering us a beautiful sunset this evening, sitting at 93 degrees, partly cloudy conditions, and a good breeze coming out of the south-southeast at 9 miles per hour. Coming into our local temperatures, though, 93 once again for Tallahassee, getting down to the upper 80s as you get closer to the coast. And then as you move up more north in Donaldsonville, 97, 93, Thomasville, 93 in Valdosta as well. Coming in with our dew point, as Michael mentioned, we do see a severe difference, seeing a lot of moisture down near the coast. Carabel at 76, but when we get up to southern Georgia, Thomasville at 64 and Valdosta 65, a little bit drier up there. With our heat indexes, still a little muggy outside, not feeling like fall just yet. We're seeing 95 in Valdosta, 95 in Thomasville as well, and pretty much 90s and even 101 across the board. So still muggy and still warm out there. Our wind speed direction, we do see a lot of southerly flow coming off the coast, 6 miles per hour in Carabel, St. Mark's 6 as well. And then we're seeing some easterly flow across southern Georgia, 6 miles per hour in Thomasville, and a nice breeze in Valdosta as well. Looking at our current satellite and radar, we do see some spotty showers just to the west of Tallahassee, but for us, for the most part, pretty clear for much of the panhandle, and that'll continue into tomorrow. Looking at our national forecast, like we said, that stationary front that's sitting over parts of Texas and Louisiana will be moving through the rest of the day, and this is the backdoor cold front that we've been talking about much of the show. We'll be bringing moisture and cooler temperatures into Tallahassee within the next few days. And then we also have a nice system moving across the mountainous region and into the Midwest that'll be bringing some storms for them next week. Looking at the week ahead, Saturday, tomorrow, we're looking at a high of 93, 88 for Sunday, and then we're going to start seeing those temperatures cool down, getting into the upper 80s, which is something definitely to look forward to. As that backdoor cold front comes in Monday and Tuesday, we're going to see those chances for precipitation to increase, a lot of cloud coverage, definitely hiding that sun that we've been seeing too much these past few days. Looking at our low temperatures, though, 68 getting down there tonight, and then in the low 70s and upper 60s. So I love to see it. It's going to be fall very soon. So stick with us through Saturday and Sunday, and we're going to see those lower temperatures throughout the rest of the week. Giving you one last look, and then I'm going to pass it back to the desk for Michael and Chris.
Yeah, thanks, Maddie. And it's been a very repetitive week in terms of the temperature records on the East Coast. I feel like every single day we're like, okay, we broke a record, and then we break yesterday's record the next day.
Well, it's really a repetitive month, and a week after that.
Yeah.
September was another huge record-breaking month.
Yeah, the Northeast had those records on Tuesday and Wednesday. Luckily, this backdoor cold front with high pressure moving in, that northerly winds is helping in to bring some cooler air. Yeah. But in the Southeast, once again, we had those records breaking once again. Atlanta getting up to 97 degrees, tying their all-time October record from yesterday, breaking the daily record by 6 degrees.
Yeah, Raleigh also set their all-time high for the year. Yeah. Actually, today with over 100.
It's amazing. They didn't get to 100 for the entire summer, and then all of a sudden in October they're like, okay, let's hit triple digits.
Yeah.
Finally, it happens.
I mean, breaking triple digits in October, what a year it's been.
And then other places like Tuscaloosa got to triple digits again. Macon today got to 103 degrees, which basically smashed the record for the day, and also that set the new monthly record for October as well.
I mean, we also smashed the record for today by 3 degrees. It's 97. We tied the all-time October. Yeah. Again.
And we were saying this earlier. So the records go back to all the way to 1892. So between 1892 and 2018, in the month of October, there were only 3 days above 95 degrees. We've had 4 days above 95 degrees in 2019 October. So it's just incredible how hot it's been.
Yeah, this has been one heck of a fall. Right now, we're going to send things off to the wall with Zach.
Thanks, guys. Let's look at Florida for a little bit. Tallahassee right now, seeing those cloudy conditions we've been seeing on our sky cam. 93 degrees here, 92 in Fort Myers, sunny conditions. Key West, 84 sunny conditions there as well. And our dew points. So we're feeling fairly comfortable in Tallahassee. We can see where that dry line is, a dew point of 72. We're seeing comfortable dew points around Fort Myers, 66 dew point there, so feeling very comfortable down towards the south as well. Not very humid around the state, and here's our wind speeds, and we can anticipate these wind speeds are going to be picking up over the next day or so as this front begins to move through. So Jacksonville, where the front's going to be coming through, we can anticipate winds start to pick up from 7 miles per hour, and we do see some pretty breezy conditions in Pensacola coming out of the Gulf at 14 miles per hour there. So our satellite, and we're sort of seeing some shower activity a little bit more towards the north, not really in Florida due to that stationary front, but as far as Tallahassee, not much to talk about, clear conditions, so let's just hop around the regions for a little bit. The Panhandle, seeing a little bit of shower activity, not too much, nothing severe at all there, nothing to worry about, but for the most part, we're staying dry everywhere else, nothing to speak of in Jacksonville. Moving more towards central Florida, we were seeing a little bit of spots around the Orlando region earlier, but those have since gone away. Not really much to speak about there, and going down to South Florida, it's a similar picture. So very clear conditions across much of the state with the exception of a few showers in the Panhandle. So our next 24 hours, what we're looking at is actually up in this top corner right here. That's where our backdoor cold front's going to come in, and it's going to push through Jacksonville. And it's a little unusual to be seeing rains come out of the east and push towards the west, but that's what we're going to be seeing as associated with this front. So we can anticipate these storms sort of moving through Jacksonville, and we'll see those late into the evening tomorrow, into the morning on Sunday, and eventually they're going to push their way through to Tallahassee. So what to look forward to over the weekend is we got some NFL games to talk about. We have the Saints playing the Bucks, and that's going to be at the Mercedes-Benz Superdome, and that is obviously indoors. As we see, our temperature are inside, 72 degrees, very, very comfortable conditions there. Don't have to worry about applying that sunscreen for that game. And we're going to shout out some score predictions here at FSU Weather. We're going to say the Bucks are going to take on the Saints 31-28 and upset at Mercedes-Benz Superdome. And the game I'm looking forward to, and most of us here are looking forward to, is going to be in Carolina, looking at the Jags and Panthers. A 1 p.m. kickoff time Eastern there, and we're going to see cloudy conditions mostly through the game, 77 at kickoff, and they're not going to move much. It's warm up slightly, 78, so fairly comfortable, but just because it's cloudy, be sure to be wearing that sunblock because you can still get sunburned through the clouds. So definitely take care of yourself, stay hydrated. And our score prediction we're going to be looking for during that game, we're going to say Jags are going to win 24-17 in Carolina. So for tonight around Florida, Tallahassee is going to be some cloudy conditions, 69 degrees as our low tonight, and that looks like it's one of the lower spots on the map. We're seeing 67 on Gainesville, so Gainesville is going to be the cool spot for tonight. And into tomorrow, we're going to see highs reaching 93 here in Tallahassee, and that's going to be the last time we're seeing the 90s for a little while here in Tallahassee, as we've seen in our 7-day that we are starting to peak into the 80s starting on Sunday. Now let's send things off to Chris to look at those comfortable local conditions we'll be getting over the next few days.
Thank you, Zach. So right now, getting a great view from our weather stand camera, a pretty beautiful view of the sunset as our current conditions popped up to cover it. Currently it's 93 degrees, partly cloudy, got winds coming from the south-southeast at 9 miles an hour. Getting a good look at our local temperature. Currently it's 93 degrees, 95 in Quincy, 93 in Valdosta. I will guess Monticello is also around 93, 92 degrees. It's feeling a little bit cooler by the coast as they're getting a sea breeze. 55 Apalachicola, 55 Caribou, 85, not 55, I apologize. Wind speed and directions, you can see the sea breeze actually come in, which is going to be raising those dew points by the coast. As you can see, there's this gradient, the strong gradient right here. Feeling 72 degrees in Tallahassee, 76 in Caribou, as well. It's only at 63 degrees in Donaldsonville. Those dew points, we're going to raise the heat indexes to feel much warmer. As you can see, the satellite radar, not too much happening. You got a few pop-up showers a bit north of Tallahassee. As we're going into our drought monitor, as it takes a while to come in, right now Tallahassee's in a severe drought right now. Most of the Panhandle is in moderate. Actually, Defuniak Springs. I said Funiak last time, it's Defuniak, someone told me. They're actually in an extreme drought. Really, going into the next 24 hours, you can see some clouds come in, a little bit of showers off by the coast, but for the most part, we are not going to be affected yet by the backdoor cold front on Saturday or the stationary front, as it will take a while for that to start moving into the area. For tonight in Tallahassee, 70 degrees, partly cloudy, we've got some calm winds. Moving into this week ahead, Saturday is the last day of the 90s. We're hoping for the year. Like, we're done with the 90s. It's been the 90s for forever. If you've been watching the show, you've been knowing that it's been in the 90s. 20% chance of rain. As the rain chances will increase, Monday, Tuesday, they will cap out at 40 degrees. As they start slowly calm down, your highs are going to be in the 80s for all of next week. Lows, expect 70s, high 60s. As for now, we're going to send things off to Michael and Maddie for our closing desk.
Thank you, Chris. Well, Michael, it seems as though Saturday is our last day, hopefully in the mid-90s, as we're seeing a backdoor cold front come through, hoping for some relief.
I think, yeah, all of us are really excited to just finally feel like fall. It's just way too hot to do anything, any fall activities, really.
I
Like
agree.
drink pumpkin spice latte, go to a pumpkin patch, other things that you should do in the fall. It's just way too hot for it, but we're finally getting those changes.
I totally agree. And while it has been interesting to watch all of these records that we have been breaking in the month of September and October now, I think it is some time for some cooler temperatures, you know, just like the rest of the country is going to be seeing this week.
Yeah, and then we'll come to winter and then it'll be freezing, and we're like, yeah, let's just get some 90s back once
Yeah.
we go into the middle of February.
I guess
But-
we can't complain too much. is
Yeah,
what you're saying.
take what you can get. At least we're getting some cooler air next week, so that will help in a
Yes.
sense of making it feel somewhat fall-like.
Yes, I'm definitely looking forward to it. But although Florida State isn't playing here for football, it looks like we've got a great weekend for football ahead, as we've been mentioning it this past couple of segments in the show.
We still have some college football games going on. We have the Gators and Auburn Tigers. I think all of us are rooting for the Tigers this weekend in Gainesville. And then we also have some baseball going on with the postseason starting.
Yeah,
a little-
Atlanta Braves facing the St. Louis Cardinals, and I got to cheer for the Cardinals as I'm
Yeah,
from
a
the
little-
Midwest.
A little rivalry here since I'm from Atlanta, and all the time the Braves get into the postseason and they kind of choke in the postseason. So
We'll see how that goes. But for most
Yep.
of the Southeast, it looks as though, besides that cold front that's coming through, pretty nice temperatures and pretty nice weather for the next 2 days.
yeah, I totally agree. It's gonna finally cool down to reasonable levels. We're not gonna be baking our pants off or baking lasagna on the sidewalk.
Nothing like that.
Yeah, it's gonna feel finally reasonable and feel somewhat like October. Still a little bit above average, but still like October.
Yeah, we definitely just need to wait it out, wait through these next couple of days, and then we've got some relief headed our way.
Yeah, and we'll also get some rainfall next week possibly from the multiple cold fronts that will move through, so that will help as well.
Yeah, and we'll see that drought kind of fade away, hopefully, and we're not going to see anything like September when we didn't see any rainfall throughout this entire month.
And then we got our rainfall on October 1st. So don't forget to follow us on all of our social media platforms on Facebook.
And make sure to follow us on Twitter at FSU Weather.
And also we live stream on YouTube and Instagram as well. So you saw all those social media outlets. But for all of us here at FSU Weather, we will see you next Monday. I'm student meteorologist Michael Annan.
And I'm student meteorologist Maddie Seiler. Have a great weekend.